In 2007, the eyes of the world turned towards Iran, where cybersecurity specialists detected unusual behaviors in sensitive industrial infrastructures. Control systems displayed strange anomalies, suggesting the infiltration of a malicious software. In this already tense atmosphere, Iran's nuclear program raised concerns from several nations, including the United States and Israel. The International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, attempted to determine whether Iranian activities served civilian or military purposes, while negotiations stalled under the influence of international sanctions. Washington and Tehran observed each other with a mix of distrust and caution, with every new piece of information about uranium enrichment potentially fueling confrontation. American political leaders feared that a nuclear-armed Iran could threaten regional stability. Israel shared this concern and sensed a direct threat to its security. Iran, on its part, claimed to pursue solely energy and scientific ambitions. However, doubts persisted, and discussions became increasingly tense. In this climate, the prospect of a cyberattack captured the attention of several stakeholders. Information technology was rapidly advancing, and SCADA industrial systems, essential to the operation of strategic plants and factories, had vulnerabilities potentially exploitable remotely. Cybersecurity experts already knew that a simple intrusion could have devastating effects, such as disrupting the regulation of centrifuges or the electricity supply. Governments then became aware of the necessity to strengthen their cyber defenses. New specialized teams emerged to monitor and protect these critical infrastructures, and security protocols were revised to address every potential flaw. The United States invested massively in research and development of cybersecurity solutions, while establishing cyber espionage programs aimed at detecting Iran's nuclear advancements. Israel, with its recognized technical expertise, collaborated with its allies to identify potential threats and prepare coordinated responses. Iran, aware of the mistrust surrounding it, implemented its own protection mechanisms. Iranian engineers trained in digital defense techniques, and critical sites were subjected to regular inspections to detect any anomalies. Local companies also collaborated with the government to enhance the resilience of industrial networks. However, economic sanctions complicated access to certain materials and software, forcing Iran to develop solutions internally. Meanwhile, reports multiplied about unexplained incidents within Iranian industrial systems. The anomalies detected in 2007 became more frequent, and some technicians already suspected a form of targeted attack. Confidential reports circulated within intelligence services, but no evidence yet allowed for a clear designation of a responsible party. Discussions at the United Nations Security Council intensified, and the IAEA demanded more transparency from Tehran. The international community watched with concern the potential escalation of this confrontation, fearing a military scenario or the development of an atomic bomb. In this context, heads of state began contemplating alternative approaches to military intervention, knowing that a direct strike on Iranian installations would carry significant risks of regional retaliation. Digital weapons then appeared as a means to act without exposing troops to losses on the field. Security doctrines evolved, and the expression cyber war began entering common language. Governments exchanged information on possible clandestine operations, while technology solution providers worried about potential misuse of their products. Technical experts announced that from now on, sabotaging an industrial complex could be done with a few clicks from across the world. Over the months, the question was no longer if a cyber attack was going to happen, but rather when and how it would be launched. Iran's control infrastructures, already under pressure, became the potential target of a new form of threat that surpassed traditional espionage. The United States, Israel, Iran, and the IAEA find themselves in a diplomatic game where every move counts, where a miscalculation could trigger an open conflict. No one yet fully grasps the concrete impact of a large-scale cyberattack, but everyone is already working to develop defenses and envision the future of a war without tanks or planes, but with lines of code capable of shaking a nation's stability. The anomalies of 2007 thus mark the beginning of a new era, where war intrudes into cyberspace. Engineers, diplomats, and policymakers are learning to cope with this reality, conscious that power is no longer limited to missiles and warheads, but also includes the ability to control or paralyze critical systems. International tensions do not ease, and everyone holds their breath, waiting to see how far this technological escalation can go. This situation also raises questions about the scope of intervention by the IAEA, created in 1957 to promote the peaceful use of atomic energy and prevent the militarization of the atom. Its inspectors are demanding extended access to Iranian sites, notably Natanz, at the heart of the uranium enrichment program, to verify the actual level of activity. The negotiations are tough, as Tehran fears industrial espionage and the revelation of strategic information. For their part, the United States sees the IAEA as a valuable relay to better understand Iran's intentions, while Israel remains skeptical about the adherence to protocols. Incidents observed in Iranian networks cast the shadow of a forthcoming cyber offensive, and Iranian leaders regularly accuse major powers of undermining their scientific efforts. Doubts persist, but everyone knows that, in this complex face-off, the slightest flaw on a critical server can turn into a formidable weapon. The race for cybersecurity continues, and all the protagonists advance their pieces, aware that the slightest dysfunction could shift the conflict into a new dimension. In 2009, while the international community closely observes Iran's nuclear program, a computer virus named Stuxnet catches the attention of cybersecurity researchers. It appears in Siemens industrial systems designed to oversee centrifuges at the heart of the Natanz facilities in Iran. From the first analyses, specialists understand that this is a sophisticated malware, capable of altering the rotation speed of centrifuges without triggering alarms. Iranian technicians, initially baffled, suspect mechanical causes. But the true danger of Stuxnet becomes apparent when experts discover that it exploits several zero-day vulnerabilities, providing the virus with a means to easily circumvent defenses. The attack relies on the introduction of USB keys, enabling infiltration even into isolated networks. The first studies reveal its surgical precision, which alters key parameters without raising an alert. Gradually, a consensus forms within the intelligence community, pointing to probable cooperation between the American National Security Agency and the Israeli Mossad. The complexity of the code and access to confidential information suggest a governmental operation. According to several sources, the aim is to slow down Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Iranian engineers soon notice an increase in breakdowns and centrifuge failures, unaware that a virus is skewing their telemetry data. As Stuxnet gradually disrupts the equipment, losses accumulate and enrichment slows, while the deception delays awareness of the attack. By the end of 2009, international experts finally isolate the strange malware and begin to assess its scope. They discover that it can inflict real physical damage by manipulating rotation speed. In the press, this revelation causes a stir. Never before had software seemed capable of sabotaging industrial installations so precisely. The first articles point to a likely Western origin, but American and Israeli authorities remain silent. Unofficial reports suggest Stuxnet as a means to disrupt the Iranian program. Specialists then dissect its internal workings. They find that it targets specific models of frequency converters, causing harmful voltage in the centrifuges. Iranian authorities, hit by the rise in failures, suspect a cyberattack, but evidence remains scarce. Stuxnet's code employs various obfuscation techniques, complicating its detection. In 2010, the international press reported this discovery, highlighting the innovative use of zero-day exploits and the scope of the operation. A malware can now sabotage a nation's infrastructure without a single shot being fired. Further analysis shows the variety of infection mechanisms. To reach the target, Stuxnet uses multiple scenarios and anchors itself durably in compromised machines. When the Iranian cybersecurity community realizes the scale of the attack, they try to eradicate it, but the damage remains significant. Delays in enrichment, damaged centrifuges, and increased costs. This cyberattack shakes the international community. Governments become aware of the vulnerability of their industrial networks and review their security protocols. Some fear that such use of cyber weapons could lead to uncontrollable escalation, as critical infrastructures can be targeted remotely. In the media, Stuxnet makes headlines for several weeks, and the involvement of the NSA and Mossad is widely mentioned. Tehran condemns the attack as an affront to its sovereignty and announces plans to strengthen its defenses. The episode shows how much the cyberspace holds an underestimated destructive potential. For many, it marks the birth of a new form of warfare, where a few lines of code are enough to damage a country. Nations around the world thus become aware that they can be targeted or tempted to develop their own digital weapons. Although no one officially admits responsibility, suspicions persist regarding the role of Washington and Tel Aviv. Experts see in Stuxnet a textbook case, proving that it is no longer just about spying on or disrupting a network, but physically neutralizing it. Stuxnet paves the way for more ambitious attacks, prompting states to better protect their infrastructures and integrate cyber warfare into their defense strategy. Beyond its direct impact on Iran, it permanently alters geopolitical power dynamics, reminding us that a critical target can be struck without crossing its borders. This operation illustrates the growing role of interagency cooperation, as designing such a complex code requires colossal efforts. Stuxnet becomes the symbol of an era where technology provides states with a means to confront each other discreetly, but with real consequences. Experts envision future weapons targeting more critical infrastructures, where vigilance becomes crucial for international stability.